What do you feel when you're angry? Is it a rush of energy, a sense of injustice, or maybe even a spark of courage? Now, what about forgiveness? Does it feel like a relief, a weightlifting, or perhaps a step toward healing? Anger and forgiveness are two of the most powerful emotions we experience, and yet they often seem like opposites. One intense and fiery, the other calm and releasing. But what if anger and forgiveness are more connected than they appear? Understanding how these two forces work together is crucial for finding inner peace and emotional resilience. When we learn to see anger as a defense mechanism that protects us from deeper pain, and forgiveness as a journey to freedom from that pain, we unlock new ways to grow, heal, and find balance. In this video, we'll explore anger as both a natural response and a shield, step into the transformative power of forgiveness, and provide practical steps to help you release lingering hurts. Whether you're struggling with recent conflicts or years-old wounds, this journey can lead you to a place of inner strength and healing. Let's begin. The nature of the anger. Anger is an intense emotion that often arises as a natural response to perceived harm, injustice, or frustration. At its core, anger functions as a defense mechanism, a psychological shield that protects us from more vulnerable emotions we may be less prepared to confront. Anger can serve as an immediate reaction that masks underlying feelings like sadness, guilt, helplessness, or fear. This shielding quality allows us to feel a sense of power and control, often giving us a burst of energy to confront or avoid the situation causing distress. In psychological terms, anger is linked to the body's fight-or-flight response, which is triggered when we feel threatened. When we experience anger, our brain releases hormones like adrenaline, which heightens our sense of alertness and prepares us for confrontation. This physiological reaction is a remnant of our evolutionary past, where anger was essential for survival, helping our ancestors react swiftly to danger. However, in modern life, anger is often less about immediate physical survival and more about emotional survival, helping us feel protected when our self-worth, boundaries, or needs are violated. Anger can also manifest in several forms, each with distinct psychological roots. One type is passive anger, which is often unexpressed and can simmer internally, leading to resentment. People who experience passive anger may deny their feelings outwardly, but the unaddressed emotion can still affect their behavior and relationships. Another type is aggressive anger, where anger is expressed outwardly and can result in confrontational or even violent behavior. This kind of anger is often tied to a strong sense of injustice and a need to defend one's rights or boundaries. Chronic anger is an ongoing state that goes beyond situational triggers, often rooted in unresolved past traumas, unmet emotional needs, or a general sense of dissatisfaction with life. People with chronic anger may frequently feel hostile or resentful, even in situations that don't warrant it. This form of anger often has complex psychological roots, such as past experiences of betrayal, abandonment, or emotional neglect, which continue to influence one's reactions long after the initial events have passed. Personality traits and coping mechanisms also play a role in how anger manifests. For example, people with more assertive personalities may lean toward aggressive forms of anger, while those who are more conflict-averse may experience passive anger. Additionally, a history of emotional trauma can heighten sensitivity to anger triggers, causing seemingly minor events to provoke intense reactions. The consequences of holding on to anger. Holding on to anger can have significant emotional, mental, and physical consequences that affect overall well-being. Emotionally, chronic anger often morphs into resentment, a feeling that deepens over time and can lead to depression, isolation, and a pervasive sense of bitterness. Resentment can damage relationships as it creates barriers to connection and understanding, isolating the person who harbors it. Psychologically, unresolved anger affects mental health by increasing stress levels, impairing judgment, and reducing one's capacity for empathy and compassion. Physically, prolonged anger is linked to numerous health risks. Studies have shown that holding on to anger can raise blood pressure, weaken the immune system, and increase the risk of heart disease. Anger triggers the body's stress response, flooding it with stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. When this reaction becomes chronic, it strains the cardiovascular system, raises cholesterol levels, and increases inflammation, all factors that contribute to heart disease and other health problems. The long-term effects can be severe, making anger as much a physical threat as it is an emotional one. Additionally, chronic anger can create a self-reinforcing cycle where unresolved emotions feed further anger and negativity. Without intervention or a pathway to forgiveness, this cycle becomes challenging to break, reinforcing negative thoughts and behaviors. Breaking free from this loop often requires intentional steps, such as practicing self-awareness, emotional regulation, and ultimately choosing forgiveness, which can disrupt the pattern and pave the way toward healing. The misconceptions of forgiveness. Forgiveness is often misunderstood as excusing or condoning harm, or as something that demands forgetting past wrongs. Many people hesitate to forgive because they fear it might suggest that the harm they experienced was trivial or acceptable. But forgiveness doesn't mean pretending that hurtful actions are justified, nor does it mean ignoring the consequences of those actions. True forgiveness is about releasing oneself from the emotional burdens of anger and resentment without necessarily excusing the perpetrator. Recognizing this can make forgiveness more approachable, as it redefines it as an act of personal liberation rather than reconciliation. Forgiveness as a path to inner freedom. At its core, forgiveness is about freeing oneself from the past's emotional grip. When we hold on to anger and resentment, we remain tied to the pain that was inflicted upon us. Forgiveness helps us break those ties, allowing emotional healing to take place independently of the person who caused harm. By releasing these emotional bonds, forgiveness fosters inner peace, granting the person who forgives more freedom to move forward without bitterness. This form of forgiveness doesn't depend on the wrongdoer. Instead, it's a conscious decision to reclaim control over one's inner emotional state. The psychological benefits of forgiveness. Research underscores the psychological advantages of forgiveness. Studies indicate that individuals who practice forgiveness tend to experience less stress, anxiety, and depression, alongside a greater sense of life satisfaction. By letting go of anger, people can lower their cortisol levels, which reduces stress and improves overall mental health. Furthermore, forgiveness fosters resilience, empowering individuals to respond to life's challenges with less reactivity and a more balanced mindset. Embracing forgiveness allows people to build a healthier, more fulfilling life by lightening the emotional load they carry. The emotional work involved in forgiveness. Moving from anger to forgiveness is a transformative journey that requires courage and emotional effort. It starts with acknowledging and processing the pain that anger brings. This involves validating one's feelings, understanding why the event was so impactful, and fully experiencing the emotions tied to it. Only by allowing ourselves to feel and process these emotions can we eventually let them go. Skipping this emotional work can make forgiveness superficial, while engaging in it can pave the way for authentic emotional release. Self-compassion as a key to letting go. Self-compassion is a powerful tool for forgiveness. It encourages us to treat ourselves with kindness rather than self-blame or guilt, acknowledging that experiencing anger is natural and human. Self-compassion helps replace feelings of guilt with understanding, making it easier to let go of resentment. By being gentle with ourselves, we open up space for forgiveness and make the healing process smoother, as we're less likely to judge ourselves harshly for holding on to anger in the first place. Reframing the experience. Reframing the event that caused anger can be transformative. Instead of focusing solely on the harm done, we can try to understand the circumstances or motivations of the person responsible. This doesn't mean excusing their behavior, but rather seeking perspective. For example, considering that the person may have acted from a place of their own pain or limitations can shift our interpretation of the event. Reframing helps detach from feelings of anger, allowing room for forgiveness to take root. Acknowledge and accept anger. One of the most important steps in forgiveness is to fully acknowledge and accept feelings of anger. Suppressing these emotions can cause them to resurface in harmful ways. Instead, allowing oneself to feel and process anger validates the pain and initiates healing. This process can involve writing down thoughts, discussing feelings with a confidant, or engaging in activities that provide emotional release. Practice empathy and perspective. Taking empathy can be a bridge to forgiveness. Practicing empathy involves trying to see the world through the eyes of the person who caused harm, acknowledging that they, too, may have struggles that influence their actions. Perspective taking can soften anger and open up the possibility for forgiveness by humanizing the person involved, making it easier to release grudges and bitterness. Develop a habit of self-care and mindfulness. Mindfulness practices, such as meditation, journaling, or breathing exercises, help process emotions and reduce the intensity of anger. These activities create a mental space to observe feelings without judgment, allowing for a calmer, more balanced response. Journaling can be particularly useful as it provides a safe outlet for processing emotions, identifying triggers, and observing progress toward forgiveness. Set boundaries. When needed. Forgiveness doesn't mean allowing further harm. Setting boundaries is an essential aspect of protecting oneself from recurring hurt. Establishing clear boundaries ensures that forgiveness is a safe and sustainable choice, empowering individuals to move forward without compromising their well-being. Boundaries can support anger management, making it easier to forgive from a place of strength rather than vulnerability. If you found this video helpful, please like, comment, and share it with others who might benefit from this message. Don't forget to subscribe for more insights on emotional well-being and personal growth. Thank you for watching, and take care on your journey to healing and strength.